My grandmother, bless her heart, when she left this world and went into the next or wherever you go, she left me a prayer book. And in that prayer book was a litany of different things, like sayings and things that she wrote down. And today we're going to do a special episode for you. This is on healthy boundaries and how to speak up. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a random insert out of my phone, which is kind of like my prayer book. But the main thing for this is going to be what my grandmother had written down. And this is a mental healthy boundary, if I may. And this one is so important because it's easier said than done, but also it's always good to check in with and just have like at the forefront of your mind at certain points in time. It's just good to know this throughout your day. And that is to not let anyone or anything live rent-free in your head. By rent-free, I mean something that is not giving you anything, yet is taking up space. How many times do we let something take up space, which is giving us nothing, giving us absolutely nothing? And not even in the frame of giving us the satisfaction of giving or giving us the satisfaction of service. We're just letting them stay there while almost taking away. So I would even further this and say, don't let anything or anyone live rent-free in your head, but also be a debit and be a debt and live in your head. Because the idea is that we let a lot of ideas and people and events and our past live in our mind without giving us anything. It's not a lesson to be learned from it. The lesson might already be learned. We'll already be done with that. It's time to move on. And yet here we are still letting this thing live rent-free in our head. I told this story a long time ago, and it's always good to bring up. There was a plate in my mother's cupboard that I had nothing but disdain for. It was a plate that was given to me by my ex back in over 15 years ago, right? And I'm living with my mom at the time, and the plate, had been given to us by my ex about less than a year ago. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to, I'm not going to give this plate power. I'm not going to break it or put it away. Funny enough, I was already giving it power. And I'd look at that plate and be like, ugh. And it doesn't, the ending of this story is funny, but the whole point is that the plate is not doing anything. The relationship is done, and there's nothing but disdain, which we'll bring up in a little bit what that means. And then lastly, there's nothing that I have no control. It's an inanimate object. Like if I'm letting inanimate objects live in my head rent-free, what else is, how cheap is the rent? Like what am I, how tidy am I really keeping my mind? Probably not that tidy at all. So one day this is on total accident. I'm washing plates, and that plate actually breaks on accident. And I leave it out on the counter, and I take a picture, send it to my mom. I say, hey, sorry, this plate got busted. The one that so-and-so gave to us. And she said, oh no, I got that at the market. I said, what? I thought this was a plate from my ex. And she said, no, I got that from a market, or it was like a gift from somebody else. It was definitely not from my ex. I had put all this energy into one gosh darn plate. And I couldn't believe how much I had put into that. And later on, made amends with this person, got complete with it, as they say, because I just had to give it up, just let it go. Really, it's about just giving it up. Sometimes it's about just like, it's you. And I think that the giving it up for me works a little better than letting it go, because letting it go is almost like it's trying to, get away from you. Giving it up is just saying you leave it on the side of the road, or you roll it down the hill and see where it goes. You give it up. And that plate wasn't even what I thought it was. I gave it so much power. We don't, forget the word, how it was said. This is also going to lean into you drawing a healthy boundary mentally, is that things don't come into our lives with meaning. We give them meaning. And whatever meaning we assign to that thing, that is then what it's going to be in our life. There's another one, monsters aren't born, they're made. And really in any story, any villain believes they're doing the right thing. And just somebody with an outside perspective thinks that they're doing the wrong thing. And this plate is just being a plate. It's got no power over me. It is what it is. Yet I'm giving it the power, which then shows you, and this is the turn on all of this, how powerful you are. You are so powerful that you can give power to a meaningless object. You can give power and story and narrative and a cinematic trailer to an inanimate object. You can give the heaviest weight to the smallest thing that happened in your past. You can rearrange your entire life based off of a fiber of life that happened years ago. You can actually take something that never happened, give it plausible reality, and then live your entire life based on that. That's how powerful you are. That's how powerful we are. We can let something live rent-free in our mind and have it take the wheel for the rest of our lives, the rest of our day, week, month, or year. And that is our power. When you understand that you can draw a healthy boundary mentally, you will understand that you have the power to draw a healthy boundary. You have the power to create any meaning that you want mentally. That is yours. That is your superpower. It is a divine power, if anything, because you can make up whatever you want just by looking at a scenario. When we talk about, when we were talking about this like with imagination and working with kids sometimes, like they could make up stories from anything. I mean, I'd be at recess as a paraprofessional and be like, I guess the wood chips are lava now, or that's a dragon, like just all these things. And as adults, we start to lose that a little bit, right? And we can become a little bit jaded, and we lose sight of the fact that we have this power to give meaning to really anything. And when we let somebody live rent-free in our head, or we let a thought or an idea or a notion or a philosophy live rent-free in our head and dictate who we are doing just exactly that. We're giving up the power. We are using the power to give it to something else. And it's so useless that that thing doesn't even know that it has power over us, that the plate doesn't know. The plate's an inanimate object. It doesn't care. It's impersonal. The plate does not care. And so when we draw a healthy boundary privately, this is more the inside of this, because we talked about this publicly. We can say, I shan't be moving anymore for this. You should probably start saying that privately, like, not today. No, not today. Nope. And that's okay. You can have that dialogue with you to set those boundaries and build on that, because it is so powerful to start designating what you're going to give meaning to and what you're not going to give meaning to. And the beautiful thing about this, and I love this when I see friends that have just become parents, their priorities entirely switch up. I mean, the amount of BS that they were allowing to be in their head before versus now that they have a kid is like night and day. And it doesn't take having a kid to clean up your mental space. It doesn't take that, but it does happen. That's just a byproduct of it. So I'm saying, when you do begin to clean up your mental space and just take inventory, what is in here? What are we allowing in here just to like kick it and live rent free and just like say whatever, do whatever, and like, act whatever, and we're just cool with that? No, absolutely not. Clean it up, get it out, put it in a trash can, or find a bag or a space for it where you can put it and be like, hey, you got to stay here. This is not, we're not doing this today. This is not how this is going to go. And I think that's so special because we're human. This is going to continue to happen, the ebb and flow. You're always going to have to clean up the space or tend to the space. There's never a day that I don't clean something in my apartment. There just isn't. I'm constantly taking those the paper towels and being like, oh, put some water on it, rubbing something down. Oh, yeah, that's gonna need some spray. That's always happening. Constantly keeping maintenance of my space, which is the same as you should be keeping with your mental space. And just as like an aside, we're just going to see what happens here. I'm going to pull out just a note and see what can actually happen with this. No, that's not going to work. Oh, I love this one. Okay, my friend said this yesterday. Actually, can I find it again? Okay. Here, I think this is going to work. Sit in this until there's nothing left to sit in, because at some point you'll know it so well that you'll never go back to it. I think that applies to what we're talking about, because once you become familiar with the things that are living rent-free in your head, you'll understand that they're living rent-free in your head. You have to point out what is actually living rent-free in your head, what is actually not giving to you. Now, when we talk about friendships and relationships and connections that are taking more than giving, we'll get into that into a different video. But for now, a lot of people talk about conspiracy theories, what the government's taking from me, what they're listening to, what they're tracking. When in reality, maybe that might be an issue for you. But the first things first is you should be taking inventory of what have you been tracking? What are the cops that you've allowed in your head? What are the wild rules and parameters that you've given yourself that have no meaning, and they're serving nothing whatsoever? If you have a belief that doesn't serve you, if you have a belief that doesn't serve you, it's only holding you back. And so having all these thoughts, ideas, beliefs, and philosophies living rent-free in our head is the first thing. That's the first thing to get rid of. It's like, this is not serving anything, any part of who I am or what I'm about. So this has got to go first. And I think it is as someone goes within, they will go. As someone goes within, they'll go without. I know I'm misquoting that, but it starts inside and goes out, inside out, not outside in. Is that once you start dealing with the inner work, you can start to really then deal with the outer work. I got a flashing battery sign now. We got to end this one. Otherwise, I'd love to keep talking about this. This is video 4 of 7. We'll get to more of it, but really clean up the mental space, check what is living rent-free in your head, and don't let it live rent-free anymore. Raise the rent maybe. All right, we'll see you in the next video.